Victoria 3 returns, and look at the Persian Gulf shine. Look at all of this trade coming out of here as I zoom out and we can take a look at Greater Persia. This is, of course, my Victoria 3 Persia Let's Play. And today we're going to focus in on securing our borders, building up our economy, and a little bit of some other crazy shenanigans. Firstly, a quick look around the world. I've had a chance to read your comments on the previous episode. We're playing the latest version of Victoria 3, 1.0.5. You can see... Oh my god. What is all of this? Jeez. Great Britain making a huge play into Africa. Over in the Americas, things are looking actually a little bit consolidated and stable. We have a fully formed Canada, the North German Federation looking a little bit rocky still, but they're trying. And then, of course, our part of the world. Maybe the part that's received the most change in the first sort of 20-ish years of the game. As you can see, we're just crossing over onto Christmas Day, 1865. It's 1865 Christmas in Persia, and by the looks of things, I have a few things to fix. I tend to play this Let's Play on sort of 4-speed or 5-speed, but often I'll pause if, you know, things are going a little bit south, and it looks like some strange-ass things are happening in this Persian economy. What's going on? Okay, for starters, our trade routes look to be a little bit crappy. If we have a look at the broader market overview, you can see... Yeah, okay, so coal... engines, because we've just started building a railroad. We're also in short supply of tools, tickets, and clothes, as well as a bit of grain and fish. But really, it's our new railroad engines that are unfortunately providing a little bit of trouble to us. So we're going to need to try and either import or create more coal. I think we should import it. Let's grab it from the British market. And then we could do the same with the engines just to get on top of this issue straight away. We have the bureaucracy to fund these routes, and actually they're fairly productive. Let's get some French engines. We have loads of convoys thanks to our beautiful trade empire that we're slowly building up along the coastline. If we can get those two goods in supply, engines, if I unpause the game, we should see this start to come down the market price as I cross my fingers and hope for the best. Maybe we'll try and get some British ones in here as well. We'll double down, see if we can grab them both in. And then it's just market access. And it's actually our railroads or ports that can fix this. So if we have a look in this area, base pops, road maintenance, infrastructure usage is currently way too high because we have a whole load of farms and we've got more construction queued. Bit of a yikes. What we probably need to do then is build some more of these railways, and of course we're getting a whole load of engines and all sorts of crap in to get that done. Luckily, I've queued up some earlier, so if I throw them to the front of the queue, we should be able to get on top of these infrastructure issues. We are actually working on some of the wrong territories to begin with, so I might just fix that as well, and then we should be good to go in terms of our infrastructure at the very least. As I look through our budget and I notice we're spending a lot on construction goods, I can't help but feel that we might actually have gone a little overboard in state construction. Even in these territories where I'm trying to get things online really quickly, I think I should probably tone this down a fraction. Some individuals will get fired, turn into radicals, but we should be okay, just to reduce our costs. See, take a look at that. By toning down two of those industries, yes, I'm building things a bit slower, but we're not sending our budget into an insane deficit. Likewise, if there are territories where I'm not really even utilizing a construction sector, but it's sitting there, in this case, they're not. But as I look through, we can see a few different ones. This territory has 2, but I'm kind of relying on it for ports. But then again, this one has none. So, you know... What's going on here, people? I mean, I realize this is entirely my own fault, but if we reduce our temporary construction costs, we'll take a little bit of a speed penalty, but we'll be able to balance the books much better. And the reason why that's important to me is because, of course, in the recent update, government wages, and to a certain extent military wages, have changed. It's now much better, or at least slightly better, to up government wages. So I'll try and get away with upping them at least a little bit to get that extra approval. However, if I remind myself of the politics of our nation, where we have had some unfortunate accidents and incidents with cows and all sorts of crazy things in the last episode, where we have the Society for Progress still in power, even though I believe they may have actually lost the last election. However, look at this, the PBs are surging. I don't actually need the extra support on any of these groups at the minute, so I might just tone those wages back down. There's really no extra benefit if I don't need their approval. Likewise with the armed forces, if we have a look in here, armed forces are at plus 14. We don't need their approval either because we've already got them at plus 10. So actually, even though it's generally a good idea to up the wages, we're not even going to bother this time. On our path to liberalism, by the way, as well, we are nearly there. So very close. However, I have one current task within my laws to fix first, and that is actually getting the schools to become private schools. We have a little event here. We could either attract people to the intelligentsia, get a little bit of extra prestige on the global stage by keeping the playwright, or get an enactment success chance on passing these private schools. It's currently ranked at 28%. It would be nice to have more intelligentsia and prestige and enactment chance. I'm going to grab the enactment chance so that we can get it done, because as I was going to say, we're nearly actually at a path to liberalism. We just need to give more people the right to vote. Census suffrage, or in a crazy world, maybe universal suffrage. I might also look to try and figure out a way to strengthen our economy just a little bit more so that I can lower taxes as well. It would be really great to have them down around there. Having a look at these consumption taxes, it looks like we've got perfect ones in play. Yeah, really no better way to make a whole load of money out of that at the minute. So I think I'll keep our books balanced roughly at that. I might need to keep taxes just a little bit higher in the short term until I can cut a few additional expenses. Probably an idle construction sector, I would say. This territory up here, the capital that we focus so hard on building, does not need 5 of these bad boys. Let's slash that down to 3. There we go. That's recovered a whole load of money. Now I can get away with slashing the taxes and still make a little bit of cash. Don't look at our balance sheet. It's a nightmare. The only good that we're still chronically short of are tools. Let's start by importing some of the greatest tools in the world, the French tools, that is. And while we're importing those, we might queue up a couple of extra tools workshops. Not in areas where we have infrastructure deficits. Maybe we try and build along this coastline a little bit more here. Because we have access to ports and that kind of thing, it will make infrastructure even easier because we have the double whammy of ports and railroad across central Persia. We do have our other puppeted territories. We're not too concerned about them at the minute, to be completely honest. Eyeing up one of these plays, I see Afghanistan would jump in. And their military is getting kind of beefy, which makes me a little bit concerned that we've fallen behind. Although with 53 regulars and 136 conscripts, actually, we're doing A-OK. You may remember recently we built some extra military buildings, and it looks like we're now at a point where we can actually afford to keep that up. Our technology, though, could be falling a bit behind. I might need to focus on that. I'd also maybe like to improve our naval bases, because a naval invasion could be a really sneaky way to move in on some additional people in future. So let's get 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 additional naval bases. That'll put us up to 10 ships, which is not a bad amount. And unfortunately, we are completely out of core territories to build additional barracks. So I'm either going to need to hoover up more core territories, i.e. not puppeted ones, but actually full-on ones within our control, or figure out a way to change our laws, maybe research new techs. I noticed we just got nationalism. I could continue down the military line for a bit more. Maybe upgrade our fleet, extra port levels, triage, first aid, conscription centers. I mean, the first aid is a very good upgrade. Skirmish infantry, though. Let's grab that. Let's grab this from General Staff, and then we really have to get over here and get things to people like, you know, power. Reinforced concrete is great for that extra construction sector building throughput, but we've just scaled that down a fraction. Improved fertilizer as well. Okay. We've got some things to research. We are still desperately short on coal, so we're going to import some more French coal. We're also, as you can imagine, still short on engines, and there's no way to import more of those. So we're going to need to start building a motor industry. That's going to increase demand, unfortunately, on steel. We're going to need more coal. This is our industrialization phase. Let's get industrializing. Okay, so first and foremost, I want to start slamming out some additional coal. Let's get 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. We're then going to want some motor industries to support that. Let's get 1 in the capital, 1 down in our main Portville, and another one over here in this naval territory. That'll be 3 motor industries. Hopefully that's enough. And then we're also going to need... well, we're also probably going to need some raw materials, aren't we? Coal is the main one. I would like to also produce a little bit more iron here, so we might grab some more of that. I remember fish being slightly short, so let's build some in Fars. And we can never have enough grain. So the final thing that I might queue up is just a little bit of extra food for the people. Might not hurt to also maybe scale up our shipyards and or arms industries. We need to also be producing a slightly larger navy in future. So let's get an additional shipyard down here to help support that. And an additional tools workshop, because you can never have enough tools. And at the moment we are relying also on a whole load of imported ones of those. So I'll build some tools workshops where there are loads of peasants, and we'll give them some extra jobs. All right, everybody, get on with it. Do your work. Persian industrialists are making investments in neighboring Egyptian industries. Egypt gets foreign investment and improves our relations. Or we could increase our manufacturing income and lose some approval. Let's do that. We're going to keep that domestic because I want the money and I don't care about the Egyptians. And we also have some grassroots support for a law. It's private schools. Plus 20% chance, and the intelligentsia get a 10% boost. Or we could get a whole lot of loyalist pops. But you know what? I don't really care about that. Let's push this reform through. This reform now at a 57% chance. Was it? Yeah, success, 57% chance. The intelligentsia still growing. We might need to make some reforms in government soon-ish, but for the time being, actually, everything's looking pretty damn good. Engines are still expensive, and opium starting to be in a little bit higher demand. That's actually quite good news for us because we're taxing the ever-loving daylights out of it through consumption taxes. So let's just sprinkle a little bit of opium across the land. 3 of those should be good. Okay, nice, healthy construction sector building up. We're providing loads of railways to the people, which, by the way, aren't only giving us infrastructure, but they're also producing transportation, which allows people to move around like there's no tomorrow. The issue, of course, is that they're consuming a whole load of coal and engines. So maybe to quickly jump in front of that, let's throw a coal mine at the start. Let's also throw maybe some other basics up the top there as well, just to try and filter through some of these things before we increase our coal demand. Our coal demand, and also just more broadly our engine demand any further, because that demand is already huge. Let's get some basics online first. Probably a sensible idea. Yeah. I would love to just grab this little Omani Trucial coast down here. I wonder if I could just do a cheeky conquer state play. Britain may look to join. It's the only downside. Apart from Britain and France, we should be all right. We might even just be able to take it before they can get there. We're, of course, going to need an admiral, though, to get across. That's the part that I don't like. It would take a naval invasion. They may just cede it to us, though, right? They may just be like, actually, these guys are far too strong. We can't compete. What I'll do is recruit an admiral in the Persian HQ to begin with. Let's get an armed forces one, obviously, not a landowner one. Okay, so we have a size 5 fleet. We're probably not quite ready at that state yet, and it would be a little bit of a gamble to just hope that they cede it. Lucky for you, I'm a gambling man. Okay, so we could actually sway the Brits on board here. We've just entered the second phase. They will come on board if we force another country to abolish the backwards and inhumane practice of slavery. Or we could offer that they conquer a state as well. Let's just offer to them that will ban slavery in Oman. Oman, they're not going to like that. And push through on a really aggressive 5-speed play. Okay, great. The Brits have joined our side. Now, the French would be fools to join the other side, and we should just be able to hopefully sweep across and take this. If I was planning a little bit further ahead, I could have jumped these naval bases ahead of the queue. Sorry, tooling workshops. Like this, to increase the power of our admiral. But now that we have the Brits on our side, honestly, I don't think this even matters, to be completely honest. Oh, and here is our ruler and leader of the landowners, someone we're not particularly fond of. What can we get? So a statue was commissioned, and it has been suggested that it be displayed proudly Okay, extra prestige, radicalism, -2 approval. See you, Chief. Neat. Okay, that's great. There's an unproductive engine trade route because nobody wants to trade us engines, but it's fine because we're making a shite load of cash. Diplomatic play, let's just check in. No important allies. No. Ooh, but before that blows up, I'll just put it down to 3 speed. We have private schools, which is great for our government interest groups, not so great for the religious interest group, and we've slightly radicalized them. That is a bit of a yikes, actually. We don't want to piss them off too much. We want to keep them at sort of a happy balance, particularly while they're that strong. We could look to suppress them if we had freed up some authority somewhere. We could cancel the road maintenance here. Maybe we can get away with that now. And then we'll suppress them because they're angry as all high heck. Whoa, speaking of angry as all high heck. War with the Trucial Coast is broken out. I should have put more war goals in there, actually. Because we could have taken a lot more of their land. I could save scum. I'm not going to. Okay, we're going to suppress this interest group. I'm a legitimate player. Okay, so we'll suppress them, get them out of there. The Moderate Socialist Party needs to die, and our party needs to rise to the top. The PB, not currently affiliated with a party. If they move that way, we're in trouble. We'll need to make some big changes then, but we'll see how this goes. Anyway, now that we've passed that law, we can actually reform our distribution of power and then achieve the path to liberalization for our aggressive empire. Whoa. Unfortunately, the industrialists don't really like this. We would lose their super powerful benefit. It's probably not the end of the world. Let's try and push it through. It's going to be a challenge for us because our governing powers are like, well, do we have to? Well, at least one of them is. So we'll divide the government, but that's okay. All right, speaking of okay, a whole load of stuff is happening. Far too much. Look at all these requests. What is going on? Ridiculous. Let's get improved fertilizer. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is get rid of a whole lot of these so that we can actually see our army, which is hiding behind all of these notifications. Next up, we want to get this guy trying to do a naval invasion of the Omani coast. We can actually navally invade into some of these other territories that we're not directly trying to fight. The invasion fleet will be intercepted by a fleet size 3. We're size 6, so I think that's all good. The only thing I don't know is if this tiny navy can transport all of these battalions. Not sure if that actually works, but we're just going to try that and see. So they are 48 days away from that general preparing their forces, which I probably should have told them to mobilize for. Sorry, Chief. I'll activate some conscripts for them as well. We probably don't need to activate everybody because we want to keep some people in work. We'll just activate like half the country. We've got the Brits on our side. I honestly don't think we need to go too crazy here. We want to conquer the Omani coastline. They want to ban slavery. It's an interesting combo, but we're going to do it. And that way, we're going to secure the Persian Gulf. Fantastic. All right, don't be put off by the fact that our general has kidney stones. This is fine. Our admiral is failing a naval invasion? Question mark? It didn't happen, everybody. Oh. Okay, here it is. There's a battle in the Persian Gulf. And good news, the Persian fleet is winning! Yes! I really wasn't sure if that would happen, even though we have the superior strength. I just thought, really, the Persian fleet? Although I guess, consider who you're up against, Jumbo, you're probably going to be alright. We've suffered roughly the same amount of casualties as they did, but our superior fleet, even though our offense was a bit crappy, we outnumbered them 2-1, and we were able to win a fight in the Gulf. The Brits are also here. Looks like they're doing a land battle, though. Hello, beautiful. The Battle of Muscat. That's a difficult place to invade, but power to you. Speaking of power to you, how did our generals go? Not so hot. Sorry, Britain. I know we're not really doing a lot right now, but look, we're going to try again, okay? We're going to try again, and we're going to try and invade down this way. again, I'm not sure if it's just the fact that this army is so large that they can't fit on the boats, or if we're being sunk at sea or caught in combat. The game doesn't directly tell me, and in my other playthroughs with the game, I've never quite been able to tell. Maybe I'm missing some notifications. Honestly, wouldn't surprise me. Our wartime economy is suffering a little bit. We could look to raise some taxes just while we're at war, just to ensure that we don't take a massive budget deficit. We should see our war support up here in the top right, just kind of slowly, I'll keep that playing, just kind of slowly ticking away. Just purely because we're stronger than they are. So, either way, it'll be fine, but it could be a long, drawn-out process. So I'll just make sure we have a little bit of money in our back pocket, at the risk of, unfortunately, increasing more radicalism. You can take a look and see that radicalism, particularly in this territory, which must be where everybody who hates us is living, not doing so hot. Not doing so hot. Our standard of living, though, pretty decent. Still pretty decent. Whoa! And while I was distracted looking at our standard of living, our unintercepted and completely uninvited naval invasion has been a wild success. There's my location finder. Take a look, everybody. I'll drop it down onto 3-speed. You can see the Brits have successfully invaded the Omani coastline. We have invaded their ally, Nejd. I'm not sure. We've just left the actual territory that we want and instead decided to sweep across the country instead. We'll notice a whole load of successful fights taking place. We're not taking any losses, although neither are they. Looks like we're just sweeping through. On the British front, yeah, they're absolutely giving it to them. This will be where our war support will now rise up like there's no tomorrow, and our general, kidney stones and all, will push through the Middle East and will invade and take over and hopefully sweep up this conflict, and it won't take too long. Military goods in high demand, of course, as we start to churn through them a little bit more. Let's open up a couple of extra trade routes with the French or the British. Damn, these French ones are better. Let's get some French guns in here. And importing opium would be really sad because we produce it ourselves. I'm already taxing it, so I can't really do much else on that front. I think we'll just leave that as is and focus on this conflict. How are we doing? Let's scale the speed up a little bit so that these battles can pass through. We did actually lose a battle there. Ah, yes, because we're only bringing our 5 across. As I feared, it is indeed that size of our navy that's restricting the limits of our troops here. And because of that, we actually can't get over here to support them. However, Britain is doing such a fantastic job. From farms to factories was completed. It wasn't even my active journal entry, but we did it. We've industrialized! Yes! Oh, fantastic. Well, you know, at least we've started to. We've got more work to be done, of course, but that's a great start for us. What I was saying is we could swap this army when we get the chance to just defend this front line if we were worried about taking additional losses. However, it looks like we're doing okay. We're winning some, we're losing some. Now I have 7 troops, so actually completely forget my theory. Maybe it's gone entirely out the window. I also don't want to miss while I'm speeding along on 5 speed, and the war is quickly going in our favor, any political events, because some of these things are really powerful. Here we could throw down a bit of approval on the PB side, which is basically just a free take for me at this point, or lose some manufacturing industry standard of living. We'll throw the PBs under the bus. And the industrialists have expressed their satisfaction with the direction being taken by the country and its newly built factories, plus 20% loyalists from standard of living increases. Or we could attract more people to the industrialists. They are currently campaigning sort of against our census suffrage. So for that reason, we're going to grab some extra loyalists out of everybody, I think. And then if we can lift our taxes or lower our taxes, we'll be able to make the most of that benefit as soon as this war concludes, hopefully. It is putting a few issues on our economy. Our government is also flailing up as low industry. Oh no! Okay, so the industrialists have broken away from the Society for Progress Party, and that means that my government has basically completely fallen apart. We've had the biggest political crises to hit the Persian Empire since we formed it. all those hours ago in your time. Okay, we've got to reform this bad boy. I am left with two choices at the moment. I could put the Moderate Socialist Party back in power, stall our reforms, and move back in their direction. That would give me a lot of legitimacy. Alternatively, I can keep the Society for Progress in power and only give them one friend that doesn't reduce their legitimacy further, and that's the PB. Or we could just have the intelligentsia in power. Another option, it would arguably help us push through our reforms slightly easier, but the PB would open up more opportunities for us. Their ideology is patriotic, reactionary, based on merit. Let's do it. Let's try and marry up these two. They do well off government wages together. We're going to try and reform the Society for Progress Party and forcefully keep them in power, even though we're going to take a legitimacy penalty and approval penalty as a result. We're just going to have to try and push this through if we want to keep up with our reform. We've got so many trade routes active at the moment to keep this war going that we're starting to run low on convoys. That's a problem for us because that means that our economy will start to really stutter and fall. Oh, interesting. The new census suffrage reform has led to a debate about the voting age. So we can voting age at 25, which will give us a shortened enactment time for this law, increase academics and servicemen radicalism. We could keep it at 21, which would slow down our enactment time, or we could lower the voting age to 18, decreasing our enactment time and increasing political movement radicalism. Let's push through a young one and take that extra radicalism. I am really dancing with death here in terms of these rising radicals. It's a bit of a yikes. We're going to need to... Oh, the following war goals were enforced. On them. Crap. Now we've been kicked out. Hopefully the Brits can keep this up for me. I mean, we could plot another naval invasion to help them out. Let's try and navally invade around here. There you go. We'll do that. We'll lower our taxes. That should get the radicalism under control. We could also look, of course, to lean on institutions. We could raise this up again. More law enforcement. Let's do it! We will enforce these laws. And also, I think we should increase our education as well. This will give the intelligentsia some extra political strength. So let's sort of twist the dials a little bit on our institutions to try and push through reform and keep these people happy and in power. Wow, this is becoming a little bit of a cluster F. What is going on? Okay, so the Brits look like they've... Yeah, so the Brits have burst through here and just got victory after victory after victory. Thank you for saving me, Daddy Britain. I greatly appreciate it. We've also just figured out how to fertilize, which feels like a huge win. And we should probably swap over to using fertilizer on our rural productions. The downside is it's going to up our consumption of fertilizer, of course, and that's going to send the price surging through the roof. But I think we should do it anyway. Fertilizer. Should we intensify this as well with fertilizer? You betcha, fertilizing backside, baby. Let's get the atmospheric engine pump in our coal mines and our iron mines. We're just going to do huge upgrades across the board. It's going to increase everything. And look at our economy shine as the war is completed. And we've gained control of the sweet, sweet Persian coastline. Okay, so now this is called the Persian Trucial Coast. And I kind of feel like they owe the rest of it to me as well, don't you? There's a diplomatic play in Arabia as it looks like this state is falling apart. Interesting. So there's a peasant revolt in Mahra. I wonder if we could jump in on board on that. Do we want to do that? Should we jump on board with the revolting ones? I don't know if we gain a lot from meddling in those affairs, and we're just coming out the back of a war. Let's lower our taxes down. We're making plenty of money. We can reduce our wartime tax increase now and put some money back into the back pockets of our people. Important. I have a whole load of influence that I can spend. I think we'll improve relations with the Brits and the French. Try and keep them on side. Russians we're not so interested in. Eliminates tariffs and bureaucracy between our trade routes. We would love to actually increase or try and get some trade agreements with some of our key trading partners. But for the time being, we'll just keep ignoring them, I think. Sorry, friends. We'll grab some electrification up in here. We'll ignore the military and even the society progression for a little bit longer. However, something like realism or just generally trying to provide a better quality of life to our people through these societal upgrades is a good idea. Even things like taxation capacity, increase authority, all of these are great buffs, which probably means we'll need to boost our research and our literacy. Now, the intelligentsia are going to be stoked with that, so it's generally probably a good idea. Instead of putting new regulations in place to keep the peace, which will increase radicalism, we're just going to throw the PBs and the religious group under the bus, two groups that we don't actually mind losing a little bit of power. And looking at this market support report, it is tools that are in deep trouble. So we'll continue to monitor, or I will continue to monitor any kind of wild inefficiencies here. We're actually producing too much iron, so we can probably start exporting that to our Russian or Ottoman neighbors. Actually, let's give it to the Russians. Neat. Because if we have too much of these goods that we're producing, we may as well start to ditch some. We're not using it in our own construction. Speaking of which, our construction sector's booming as well. We could export a little bit of this hardwood to the British market as well, make up a little bit of extra cash. That will, of course, put more pressure on my trade routes and market access. Ooh. And we can declare an additional interest. Hello, we are growing. Neat. Okay, very good. Which area would I like to be interested in next? We've got all of our greater area in. We could eye up the Himalayas and India, or we could focus our push towards the Ottomans or the Russians. That's really interesting. I think we already have some claim over Russian territory. Let's declare an interest over the Caucasus as well. It looks like it'll probably be Russia as the great power that we're not such a big fan of. So let's improve our relationships with the Great Qing as well. We'll try and improve our relationships with our powers in the west and the east, and then focus on the bear in the north as our main enemy. The Trucial Coast is going to be an issue. We might need to focus in on some development for it specifically. What's it got going on, and what are its problems? Its problems are everything because it has nothing. Okay. Let's scale up one construction sector here. We might be able to afford it. We'll scale up our taxes just a fraction still, unfortunately, while we get on top of some inefficiencies. And we'll try and boost up this territory just a little. Let's get some government administration in here. It might also need, if it doesn't have market access, it might need more, but at the moment it is just that government administration that's the big bad boy. So I'll throw that to the front of the queue, and we'll get this place slightly online. I'll also start incorporating this into our territory. This will incorporate the Persian coast into our homeland of our culture, which shares the heritage cultural trait with us. So if we incorporate this in, this will become a more formal part of our state, which is great for the people, for stability, for how we can control it, and also maybe for future claims over the rest of this coastline, if we want to go that way. But my goodness, we have a lot of interesting stuff. Now that we've got a claim on this region, we could also improve relations with Russia and engage with them in different ways. But for the time being, I think I'll just rest on my laurels there. And with that, I will end this, the peasant revolt. I will end this very successful run right here, where large numbers of people have begun migrating to the state of Sistan. Hey, Sol Sistan. I like it a lot. That is fantastic. We're going to need some government administration in here. Eventually. Maybe even right now. So I'll throw that to the front of the queue as well. Thank you very much for joining me in this episode of our Let's Play, where we've industrialized. We've completed the industrialization journal entry, at least the start. We are nearly on our path to liberalization. If we could just get the census suffrage passed, hopefully I can get a few extra events like this one as we move forward, which will, in this case, hilariously decrease the start of enacting it across the board and either cause more populations to be more radical or completely throw out our chances of passing it. it looks like liberalization might take a little bit longer than expected, and maybe we'll look to reframe our approach to laws next time, something that aligns a little bit better with all of our interest groups. Either way, thank you so much for the support on this series. I really appreciate it. I know that these kind of Let's Plays aren't necessarily all that popular on YouTube these days. The one-off videos tend to do a little bit better. Look at this conflict. Hello. We will check in on that next time as well. Thanks so much, and I'll see you then. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.